Hello, my name is Shea Weekley from showvote.com, and we are dedicated to bringing you the latest news, reviews, and updates from the world of film and television. Today, on our inaugural film review, we have Bridge of Spies from Steven Spielberg. Now, Bridge of Spies might seem to you kind of like a dusty old person's film, and really, it is. I missed the first 5 minutes of the film because there was just a parade of old people coming up and down the stairs. I guess all of their Buick LeSabres broke down on the way there, which is why they were all 5 to 10 minutes late. I mean, missed completely the 30 minutes of previews, walked into the film 10 minutes late. It was astonishing. About 75% of my theater was comprised of people 50 years or older. I think I might have been the youngest person in there. So it has a draw. It has an audience. And that audience are people who lived through that period in time, which is understandable, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't see it. So why should you see Bridge of Spies? Well, first of all, it's a good movie. This is a video review, so I'm gonna go ahead and tell you up front, it's just a good movie. But why should you care about Bridge of Spies at all? Well, the movie has two very distinctive halves, and obviously the setting is the Cold War, which was a really unprecedented time in our history. Kids were going over nuclear fallout procedures, like hiding under a desk was going to help them survive a nuclear attack. There was just fear of spies, communism, ideals that didn't match up with our own here in America, and you could say, more or less with everything that's going on now with ISIS in the Middle East, that we as a country are in a similarly unprecedented time. So in that way, those emotions, they seem very familiar, even to someone like me. I mean, a 26-year-old, I was born in '89, the year the Berlin Wall was knocked down, so I have no real emotional connection to those themes, yet it felt very familiar and personal to me. I think Steven Spielberg and the writers did a really excellent job of parlaying those themes and making them relevant for people my age or your age. I don't know, you could be 80-something. In case you'd love it because you were there, you know what's going on, it'd be great. So as far as the film goes, most people didn't even see this coming. It really kind of flew under the radar. I mean, Steven Spielberg, it wasn't Indiana Jones, it wasn't a tentpole film, it's just kind of one of his more quiet personal projects. He's done quite a few of those lately if you haven't been paying attention. Lincoln comes to mind. But even that had a big historical narrative to it. The backdrop of the Civil War made it extremely grandiose. Bridge of Spies is not like that at all. It really kind of just snuck in here. And it's October, which puts it kind of early for Oscar season, but still, look for it to show up come February. Just trust me, it's that kind of movie. It's got all the earmarks of a great Steven Spielberg film. It's got the camera moves, the extraordinary actor blocking, and he's just got a fleet of actors you've never seen or heard of before who are delivering A-list type performances alongside Tom Hanks. He always has these actors that you may have seen in like a Verizon ad 2 years ago, and they're standing alongside people like Tom Hanks or Leonardo DiCaprio, and they're delivering performances that are astonishingly good. That theme continues in this film. It's got just an all-star cast of people that you don't even recognize whatsoever, but they are really building this world together, and he's coaxing these amazing performances out of these nobodies, basically. Like I said, the movie does have two very distinctive halves. The first half deals with a lot of the same things we're dealing with as a society today, when we're talking about criminals versus enemy combatants, and how they should be treated ethically, and how do they fall into our due process as a legal system. The movie has a lot of ideas about the way that should be handled. Spielberg takes that opportunity to pose a lot of good moral questions to us as an audience, without really preaching at us too much. Spielberg has always been known as an idealist, and I personally appreciated the narrative being brought up, and in such a creative format. To see the resemblance between the Cold War and what we're dealing with today was really an excellent catch on their part, and combining them to put forth these moral assertions was really astute and really well done. Now the second half moves on to more of your standard boilerplate political thriller, and that's a walk in the park for someone like Steven Spielberg, who's made his career making larger-than-life films. It really comes down to keeping the car on the road. Don't drive it off the cliff. Let your actors do what they do best. Let Tom Hanks carry this film through, and just let the story play out. Underpinning this entire film, though, of course, is Tom Hanks' steady performance. And anybody who's watched Hanks throughout his career, at any point, you know what you're going to get. As I watched his performance in this film, I kept getting this overwhelming sense that I was watching a throwback performance by somebody like Jimmy Stewart. You know, it wasn't so much like a Mr. Smith Goes to Washington or, oh, Mr. Potter, if you... Not any of that. It was just the charisma that Hanks carried with him on screen. It was just this self-assuredness, but this incredibly relatable quality. Hanks, in this performance, as in many of his other performances, is the best of all of us. He's not your anti-hero. He's not a Gregory House from the television show House. He's not typically playing the guy who has just a plethora of emotional and mental problems and drinking habits and things he has to work through. He's typically the guy who is in a position to do what's right and does what's right no matter what. Jimmy Stewart did a lot of those types of things as well. And in this movie, more than others, I just felt that same sort of charisma just oozing out of the screen from Hanks. But if you're considering whether or not you should go see this movie and pay the price of admission, I think that you definitely should. Is it gonna rock the world? Are you gonna be thinking about it months afterwards? No. But it's gonna ask some questions that we as Americans should probably take the time to think through and answer. And it's just a really good movie. You're gonna enjoy it, you're not gonna hate it. So if you're considering what to see this upcoming weekend, Bridge of Spies is certainly a good pick. Stay tuned as we continue to roll out more and more reviews of your favorite film and television shows, and probably some updates and news and theories and conspiracies and opinions that have absolutely no founding within reality whatsoever. But until then, I'm Shea Weekley with Showvote.com. See you later.